This episode of the Bear and the Beard podcast is brought to you by, well, you.
That's right, Fandomites. We have launched a Patreon for the show, and we're asking you to be a part of it.
We are going to take out only what is necessary to keep the show going and to keep attending live events every month.
And the amount of funds still in the Patreon after that will be donated to our friends over the Children's of Mississippi.
That's right. In return for your generosity, the different tiers will receive different things: spring store discounts, exclusive bonus content, freebies at live events, and more.
So it's a win-win-win.
Shut up and take my money.
You help us keep the cost of the show down, get cool perks, and donate to a great cause.
Sounds simple enough. Join the Patreon today and stay awesome,
stay bearded, and much love.
Ms. Marvel is the latest installment in the Disney Plus extended MCU. The series follows Kamala Khan and her friends as she gains and learns to control her powers over a 6-episode stretch. This series was highly anticipated for comic fans, not only because it's the first live-action representation of a South Asian hero, but also because Kamala was the first comic character that belonged to the Islamic religion to get her own solo comic series. So naturally, when Disney announced the show, they knew they would be walking a tightrope and that all the fans were going to be watching to make sure they got this show right. But did they? Did they do the characters justice? Did they stick to the comic origins? Did they tell a good story? Well, let's discuss it. Joined by Katie from Geeked Moms and our social media influencer friend Ash, the Beard, Nerd Squatch, and I sit down for yet another nerdy conversation. Prepare your homemade costumes and let's grab a slice of ice cream pizza as we begin the nerdy talking in Season 3, Episode 14, The Marvelous Misadventures of Kamala and Friends, right after this. Please stand by.
Hey, listen!
What's this?
The Bear and the Beard podcast.
Who?
Just two nerdy guys talking nerdy things with their friends and fellow fandomites.
To be fair.
They may disagree or argue sometimes, but spreading positivity and love throughout the fandoms is the goal.
All right.
It's topical.
And the categories are.
It's funny. But it's always nerdtastic.
I beg your pardon.
Let's check it out.
Oh, yeah!
All right, what's going on, Fandomites? Welcome to, or back to, depending on whether you've listened before, another episode of the Bear the Beard podcast. I am Robert the Bear. I'm joined, as always, by my majestically bearded, faithful co-host, Bearded Brian Guy, the Beard. Brosius Mayo, my guy.
Mil Brosius, my dude, how we doing?
Doing well. Very excited to talk about this awesome Disney Plus show, Ms. Marvel, with you and our assembled guests and friends of the show. Starting with now familiar face on the show, might as well just be a third host at this point, Jay the Nerd Squatch, social media sorcerer supreme. How are you doing today?
I am doing well. I'm a bit tired.
Yes, and like the last time we've mentioned that, we'll get to why you are tired in a little bit. We are also joined by a new face to the show, a new member of the team, our public liaison Yankee division. That'd be Katie Cat, who is
Katie.
Also host or soon to be host of another show that we're going to be putting out for you guys, Geeked Moms. She'll be hosting that along with Mama Bear. Y'all actually start recording that tonight, correct?
Yes, I'm very excited.
Awesome. So, and the first episode of that, if it's not already out on our feed, will be out very soon.
I know somebody who wants to be a part of it.
Yeah, Mama Kim too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody.
And last but certainly not least, our special guest for this episode, social media influencer, TikToker, Instagrammer. We have Ash, who is joining us today. How are you today?
I'm doing great, but also on top of that, I will like to add that I have now been awarded the title the Miss Marvel girl. That's how I've been introduced everywhere else.
I
mean,
love it. It's
that
accurate.
fits. That fits.
Due to encyclopedic knowledge of Miss Marvel comics, to the point where it concerns most people in my real personal life.
Right.
I'll definitely
Yeah.
say the whole time I was watching this show, every episode, after I watched the episode, I'd go to your page to see what you thought about it. I was like,
My story
Yeah,
and
talked about it yet?
videos.
Has she talked about it yet?
And I remember how we originally made contact with Ash. It was because Beard sent me a video, and it was back when the show was announced. Like, the show hadn't even come out yet. It was like, I think the trailer or something.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
the video he sent me was Ash pretty much saying, look, I know that they're not going to do her powers 100% like they are in the comic books, but that is not the biggest concern we should be worried about. And I'm like,
Exactly.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you're 100% right. And I was like,
So-
we need Ash on a show. So
Yeah, I will say the worst thing that happened like through this entire journey of becoming the Miss Marvel girl was the day the trailer dropped. I was asleep. I was on spring break. I was sleeping until 12 a.m. or 12 p.m. And when I wake up, I am greeted to 100+ notifications of just people asking if I had seen the trailer yet. Like, it had felt like the show had just released and no one told me about it.
it's like you slept through the premiere and the last episode all at once.
And I was just so confused because I was like, what is going on?
That's crazy. I don't think I've ever been associated with something to that level. That's actually scary. Like, I hope I don't ever get to that point where it's like, you know so much about this. Have you seen this? I mean, I get the occasional Captain America something or another.
It's the Joker for me.
It's the Joker for you. Yeah.
Every time. I'll be dressed as comic book Joker and people are like, why so serious? And I'm like, that's not even
It's not the right guy.
Go
Oh,
away.
that happens so much with me and Miss Marvel. Like, someone will come up to me and be like, hey, is this canon in the comics? And I'm like, I'm sorry to tell you that it's not. Like, I know a popular headcanon is that Kamala is autistic or she has like ADHD or something. And someone came up to me and was like, is this true? And I was like, I want it to be, but no, sadly. Like, it would be nice, but I feel bad sometimes when I have to like break that sort of like disconnect. Not because I feel not because like I want them to. It's more I want them to know it's not canon and not to give like credit where credit isn't due. You know.
Absolutely.
It's like
I
but
feel bad.
yes, but in your head canon it can be, but
like-
it's not.
Head
in
canons are
regular
fun
canon.
sometimes, though.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I actually expressed a head canon yesterday. I did a from recording. So this will be about a week ago now from release. We did the Harry Potter event at Dogma Tavern, and had a little kid there, and of course his parents huge Potter fans, and I go to give him a sticker, and I was like, so what house, because I had stickers for all 4 houses, and he was like, oh, I don't really like Harry Potter. And like his parents just looked so embarrassed. I was like, that's all right, man. You don't have to like everything your parents like. It's cool. He's like, yeah, but Harry Potter's not a real person, so I don't see the big thing. I was like, okay, now you've insulted me. So I pulled out a headcanon. I told him, I was like, well, actually, I have a headcanon that J.K. Rowling is actually a witch. She was given specific permission to
I
write
think
the
she's
story of Harry Potter.
definitely a witch.
And because no one would believe it. So she got given special permission to write a factual story and put it out as fiction because no one would believe it.
No,
I just
it would
meant it
actually
in the insulting
benefit
way.
their cover.
Exactly. So I completely get headcanons being fun, and oh my goodness, it's so
I have a
weird how
headcanon that I
different
just
stuff
came
is,
up
though.
with.
Okay.
Bruno's a scroll.
Who is?
No,
Bruno's a scroll.
I don't know. He had some emotions showing way too much for when they were almost kissing, and I do want to get to that.
He has a lot of access to some technology too.
I mean, he does.
No, but
that's true.
see, in the comics, that was kind of explained because, Miles Morales' like middle school from Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
That both Miles and Kamala go to highly technical high schools in the
Okay.
comics. So in the comics, it made sense. Like he just grabbed it from one of the labs at school. However, they don't. They like kind of hint at it, Cole's Academy being like that in the show, but they don't like explicitly say it. So whenever someone brings that up, I'm like, oh no, trust me, I know that he's poor, but like it's just because it's like Peter Parker. He just finds things, he uses things from his high school, he uses what he has to his advantage.
Mhm.
That was always one of my favorite parts of Parker's backstory too.
Mm-hmm.
Was the technical genius, but not rich. So like all of his tech was low rent. Like, and then we saw it in Homecoming. You know, when Tony Stark's walking around his room looking at all this outdated technology, which to Stark it might as well be dinosaur tech. It's not even outdated. It's antique. And it was amazing to see another smart character and to have another young Avenger showing up on the scene too. I love that. Bruno, oh my that picture does
Just
not.
No, I have this. I should have said this before we started filming, but I have this picture of Bruno where he has Kamran standing in the background looking menacingly, and it's just he looks stoned out of his mind. It's a behind the scenes photo. It's so funny. That one time I just used it in the background of a video because I couldn't come up with anything else.
Hey, whatever works. So I guess while we're on Bruno, why don't we run down the characters that we saw and I guess talk about favorites and all that, while we also kind of talk about the story a little bit.
Of course,
Starting,
our main
of course,
character.
Of course, Kamala Khan.
Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel.
I don't think I've ever seen a more faithful adaptation to the comics as I did in Iman Vellani's performance as Kamala Khan. She just had something about her that like I was like not even from the second like I saw her in the actual show, like the second I saw her in the trailers, I was just like, oh, okay, so this is Kamala Khan. You like I could not think of a better casting than Iman.
And I told Mama Bear when we were watching, I think it was like the third episode, just how well that actress could probably give her Jennifer Lawrence a run for her money on facial expressions alone.
Mm-hmm.
Like just the way she was expressing so much in her face without speaking a word. It's like I was like, that's a young Jennifer Lawrence right there.
It's honestly crazy because this is Iman Vellani's first role entirely. Like she is a sophomore in college who someone had told her about the Miss Marvel casting. She had just gone in there. She said in an interview that she had just gone in there so she could potentially meet Kevin Feige. Like, not even thinking like, oh, I'm going to be casted as Miss Marvel.
And now she emails him.
Just for the potential.
And now she emails him, people.
She's a fan. She cosplayed.
She understands
and now she's wearing
it.
the actual costume.
We actually have the video of her
yes.
doing the interview about that. Can we play that real quick there, Beard?
Did 15-year-old version of you ever think that there'd be a place for you in the MCU?
Not at all. You're not even supposed to dream of something like this. My entire bedroom back home is covered in Avengers posters, and now I'm friends with some of them, and like it's weird because now I have like an obsession over my friends. And that's, I don't know, just seeing Bree's face above my bed is like so weird now because I like can literally text her and call her whenever I want, and yeah, it's weird.
That's so like she just texts Brie Larson just whenever.
I sit back and I think about it, and everybody's dissing Phase 4, but we have Kamala Khan being portrayed as accurately as possible. We've got Jonathan Majors, who just killed it in Loki and is going to kill it in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Absolutely.
I mean, people don't even realize and Black Panther looks beautiful.
Oh my god.
And Namor's about to blow onto this scene like nobody's business. I cannot wait. But I don't see anything. Christian Bale did a phenomenal turn as Gore the God Pigeon. I mean,
haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure he did.
Oh,
just the trailer alone.
Easily one of the better parts of the film.
Not a big fan of the rest of it.
I also think that like this, like Iman's casting is like the start of the new turn of the MCU, because
Absolutely.
now a lot of the younger characters that they are going to be casting for, they're my age. They have grown up with the MCU since they were like, 8 or 10.
I was 8.
And now they get to like, actually portray these characters in live action. And I also feel like
that nerd love.
Yeah, it's honestly also the best time to, find these, super fans, because,
Absolutely.
we're getting a lot of these characters like Miss Marvel, like Miles Morales, like, Sam Alexander's Nova, like Ironheart. We're getting these people who were inspired by the original heroes, so why not cast people who had that same experience growing up?
Yep.
I also like that how big of a fan of Iron Man Iman Vellani is, because in the comics, her and Tony have a very, like, the relationship that they gave Peter in the MCU, that was actually Kamala's relationship with Tony. He would, he would care about her personal life and making sure that she was able to still be a kid as much as, as much as her position on the Avengers, or, how well she was doing at her job being an Avenger.
Well, I mean, when you're, responsible for Spider-Man revealing his identity in Civil War, and then that, inadvertently gets Aunt May killed, I would hope that you're a little more careful with your young, your young proteges after that.
Yeah, I think actually in the post Civil War II, so in the Magnificent Miss Marvel run, Yusuf Khan actually has, I can't remember if it's cancer or not, but he has some like really incurable disease, and it's actually a point that Tony Stark makes that he tried to research and try and find a cure for it, but he sadly couldn't, and he like is genuinely feeling bad about it.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yusuf can't die. He's the best.
Every time
I don't want him to die.
Tony Stark drinks himself to death. I mean, every time. It's not fair. He deserves so much better.
Yusuf is number one Marvel dad right now.
Number one.
I
Marvel
love
dad.
the changes.
He's number one Marvel dad.
I mean, her family was just so important to her.
I cannot wait.
I love that.
I cannot wait to see the rest of that post-credit scene where Brie Larson has to interact with her family.
Yeah,
I cannot wait.
I can't wait, because I grew up with like my grandmother is originally from India, so like I know that reaction that a lot of parents have to like superheroes, and more importantly, Muniba and Yusuf are just not gonna get her name right. They're gonna be like Captain America, Captain Britain,
Britain would be great.
Miss America, like who are you?
Yeah,
just anything but calling her Captain Marvel.
Or even just trying to, because she's probably one of those that they know her actual name. It's going to be like Christmas Carol.
Captain Carol.
Captain Carol
Marvel.
Yeah,
Carol Marvel. That's great.
I will say about the mom.
Oh yeah.
I love how they set up that we wanted to dislike her in the beginning, because the first episode, it looked like she was going to be that controlling mother that wasn't going to be understanding, and then like not even halfway through the show completely shows us like, that initial
halfway through the first
wrong.
episode. If I'm being honest, she's very much like, she's not as strict as most South Asian parents are.
Right.
Like I was shocked when the reaction came out from most people saying like, oh, she's so strict, oh, she's so terrible, and I'm like, she let her go out places. She let her best friend. She let Bruno not only come to her house when none of them are there, but I'm pretty sure, unlike a lot of my friends, he was actually allowed to go upstairs to her room. And that was regardless of gender. Just no one was allowed upstairs. And just seeing the reaction online from especially like non-Asians and non-South Asians on Muniba, I was like, what show are we watching?
And they made such amazing costumes for her.
I had to badger my grandparents into giving me some jewelry so I could make my original Miss Marvel costume. The fact Muniba full on made a whole costume just off the bat, like
I love Hulk, so I love that they chose.
But what I loved is that they brought you to an understanding of a why, and they used culture and everything to back it up. So you understand her as opposed to disliking her.
Yes.
It's so important that because Disney has such a bad habit of antagonizing people who are different. And I was hoping they wouldn't, and they didn't. I was so grateful that I loved her we loved her from the start. I thought she was riot.
You're not talking about turning red or Encanto, are you?
I'm more talking about how all Disney villains that are portrayed as cis women are actually based off of drag queens to make us look bad.
Oh, Ursula,
Cruella de Vil, all of it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I do like the recent turn with like Everything Everywhere All at Once and Turning Red, where we start getting like real, like instead of like me having to watch, like white parents like interact with their kids, I get to see parents who act like mine or people who act like my grandparents did, like on the screen, and now I can go back and show them and be like, hey, remember when you did this to me? Well, now it's on TV.
Everybody deserves the same experience.
I interact with my kids enough. I don't need to see it on TV.
Yeah, no, I actually just showed my dad Everything Everywhere All at Once because I bought it on DVD because I refused to pay, like temporary streaming rights. I refused to pay for that. So I just recently made him watch it, and his first reaction was telling me this is much more a mother-daughter film, and then immediately taking it to my mom and being like, you need to watch this.
Me and my mom watched it, and it was it's magnificent. It really is pure magic.
I watched Encanto with my mom. I don't think she got it. So.
Oh, my mom and I bawled. We cried like babies. We cry at everything, though.
Yeah, but no, it was especially great seeing Univa because I think that she's definitely like this turn in specifically South Asian parents where like they're a lot more engrossed in American culture. They're a lot more, trying to figure out what their kids like. Well, versus my grandparents who were always kind of more distant with that fact. Like my dad grew up on superhero movies and, comic books and stuff. But my grandma was very much like, okay, you have your hobbies, I have mine, versus, my parents, like they went to conventions with me. My dad created a full Captain America costume from the first Avenger just because he wanted to. I don't even think I really asked him to. I just kind of got into cosplay, and then he was like, hey, I can do this too.
My mom
I can do this better
too.
than you. Yeah,
he
upstaged me.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, like it was as screen accurate as it could possibly be, and through that I realized why I'm so specific about my comic, like my screen accuracy with my costumes. I was like, oh, then that makes sense now.
Well, now talking about screen accuracy, before we started recording, you said there were some changes for the brother there,
yes.
Amir.
So Amir Khan in the comics, he does not go to college. He does not have really a career of anything. I think he eventually becomes a new sheikh for the mosques that they attend. However, oh God, I have to like look up his name. I know his first name is Sagar. So he actually told the showrunners, like, hey, maybe we should have Amir be a broke college student instead of just broke. And I think that just slight change kind of made a lot of what the character goes through make a little bit more sense, like specifically with Taisha even wanting to marry him, because although my brother has had great experiences without really having a job and getting girlfriends, not everyone is like that. And so just having I feel like having like a motivation behind him, it really kind of like sets in stone like who the character is, and especially that whole like pressure that a lot of Asian South Asians in general, I talk more Asians in general because that's why I am, but like a lot of that pressure on like going to college and like also still having to live your life alongside that, like I feel like it just gave him a certain motivation that was a step up from the comics instead of a step back.
As soon as you said that, all I was reminded of was the YouTube creator, the emotional damage.
That's what Turning Red and the show is for Asian kids. It's just like, oh, now everything makes sense. So I will say a fun fact about Amir's actor is that he's actually the entire reason we got Taisha in the show. The actress for Taisha was actually a friend of his that he had told Marvel about to bring into the show. So, and I think that Taisha is another one of those just fantastic castings. I especially like how she seemed to kind of be in on the fact that Kamran wasn't their cousin, and Amir is just completely oblivious.
Yeah.
It really did play into that kind of like sister energy that she has with Kamala later in the comics. So I was just glad to see that in general. Although I could have spent like another like 6 episodes on just like the build up to the wedding because a lot of stuff happened in the comics.
We need a one shot. We need like a one shot, like a whole little mini thing of just the days before the wedding, like while Kamala's off doing everything else, they're getting ready for the wedding over here.
Or a follow-up one shot that takes place after the show.
Yeah.
Of her running stuff at the mosque.
Yes. Oh,
yeah, Nakia was a great character. The helping Kamala even after it was like she felt betrayed, which I completely got. Like I saw it coming. Unfortunately, that was the one time I think the show became predictable.
So
because I was like, oh, there's going to be the freak out, like the why didn't you tell me? It's like, yeah, but you were talking about how super powered individuals were evil. Of course, I didn't tell you.
So Nakia in the comics, she is very much not for heroes. More because they often at times, destroy a lot of the community, like just from their battles. And I was really glad because she was the character that probably worried me the most going into the show, mostly because she's one of the few Muslim characters who is not played by a Muslim actress. But after seeing her in the show and after talking to some of my mutuals, like the hijabi bounder, like I can see like, okay, now like all of this kind of makes sense to me. She did a fantastic job with what she was given. And I need to see more of her and less of Bruno because I feel like having someone who is very much into Islam, like compared to Kamala, like having someone like that, we could have gone very quickly into the whole mythos behind the bracelet very easily instead of Bruno having to research it. Like, and Nakia would almost go off the top of her head.
The scene where she's discovering her powers, like playing around with them, I feel like that would have been more of a fun scene if it's with her best friend instead of with Bruno.
Instead of Bruno, every scene would be improved if we just removed Bruno.
See,
they had to put unnecessary romance in there.
Yeah.
All I need to make those scenes perfect was for Bruno to be filming it for a YouTube channel like they did in Shazam. That's all I needed was for him to be filming
TikTok.
The power
I love
test.
the TikTok
with the power test
at the
end.
Yeah, when G. Willow Wilson showed up at the end on TikTok, my heart just fluttered.
I was so mad because everyone was talking about the Carol Danvers cameo at the end, and I'm like, G. Willow Wilson was right there. She was right there on TikTok doing a fake TikTok video.
I knew Carol was showing up. I didn't expect G. Willow Wilson.
Is it a fake TikTok, or do those TikTok accounts exist somewhere that Disney?
They're probably fake.
On
a lot of times when media does that, they
now I gotta look it up real quick because I don't think G. Willow Wilson has one.
We do remember that the Daily Bugle has an actual TikTok from Far From Home. So,
but that's because they turned him into Alex Jones.
Well, yeah, that's true.
And it was genius. Okay, it's the best decision I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, no, I don't think Zoe has one. I don't think Zoe has like a fake TikTok. However, I do know that the actress has a TikTok and she often posts TikToks with Yasmin Fletcher, who plays Nakia. So their friendship is adorable. I just overall just needed more of the sidekick or more of them, less of Bruno.
I wonder if they're gonna adapt the big thing with her and Nakia.
I
hope so.
I feel like they have to play it very careful, because I've talked to some of my mutuals like personally about this, because I don't want people to jump Nakia for like rejecting Zoe's feelings, because she doesn't do it out of a place of hate or anything. She just says, look, I don't think I'm interested in you. I would prefer if we just stayed friends. And they're both very like respectful about it. And then it again leads Zoe later into having a crush on someone who turned out to be an evil robot. And my personal favorite ship is Zoe and Mike, who is Bruno's ex-girlfriend.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, I don't. They have very few scenes together, but I am like a diehard shipper of those two, just because like they seem to like mesh so well together, and I cannot wait for Mike, and hopefully we get Mike in season 2. I'm not entirely sure if season 2 is going to happen. I really hope it does, though.
If season 2 happens, and if they actually do bring in mutants, and we need Wolverine.
Wolverine.
I mean,
see. I don't know.
Just a one episode. Just a one episode with her.
I just don't want them to tie her to the X-Men. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I don't
it needs to be cosmic.
The only way I will accept a Wolverine cameo if it's like the comics where he's like,
exactly.
You're not a mutant. What are you talking about?
Their little thing when they're that whole bit needs to be adapted.
Them fighting the big crocodiles in the sewers.
Exactly. Yes.
When they're the inventor.
That also goes into my hope for season 2 that we have the inventor, otherwise known as my bird. I have gone on several rants.
I hope they don't
about
shy
wanting
away
that
from
bird.
It's
like,
so
I hope it's a humanoid bird, man.
Please keep it. Yes.
They did hint at him in the comics. They had Edison Electric in the background of one of the scenes, and in the opening montage, Kamala has a picture of like a drawn-in bird that's also a cockatoo, like the inventor. You can. I'm okay even if they make it say that it's that bird that from Iron Man 2 that.
Dude. What a plot twist.
I want my bird.
It's just the Banco's bird.
I'm just gonna be like, okay.
You just blew my mind now. Okay.
Behind the bird.
Yeah,
we also
like
need
Ivan
more.
Vanko experimented on the bird or something.
We need more Kamran too.
I am so glad that they changed him.
When she met him, I love the little animations around her. Like when she's seeing him, she's all like, everything's from her point of view. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really like that about the show.
Kamran in the comics is a completely different person. He is just there to gaslight Kamala into joining like this inhuman cult of people who want to destroy non-inhumans. He eventually drugs Amir at one point to see if he has like inhuman powers. Like this happens towards the end of the original 2014 run, but he thinks that Amir might have powers because Kamala is very rare in that both of her parents carry the inhuman gene. And instead, Amir gets powers like the ones that we see Kamala have in the show for about like 20 to 30 minutes. And then he spends that time both completely sick and also beating up Kamran. He just goes straight. He's like, "Oh, you disrespected my sister? Okay, I'm gonna fight you now."
Yeah, I mean,
but in the show, and they were very specific about this because they did not want to like turn him into a straight villain because it's just another brown person or a very brown person in a villainous role. So instead, they decided to kind of play up the more sympathetic angle, and I think it works really well. And it also really works because I really like the actor, and he has a certain charisma about him that you just want to end up watching him a lot more. I think even at the beginning I said I wish he would have been casted as Red Dagger so we could see more scenes of him and Iman's Kamala interacting just overall.
And with the whole him not being a villain, this show kind of followed the same trope a lot of the Marvel shows have, with not really having like a main villain. I think the only thing we have for villains is these fuckers.
I hate them.
Language.
Debatable.
Whoa.
Debatable.
Well,
kind of.
Debatable.
Okay,
She was
That
willing
just
to
the place of the
sacrifice
inhuman cult,
the
though.
whole planet to get home. That's debatable, I feel like.
Well, that's kind of like the
But
whole
she's not
thing
like a
with
big bad
the
that she
inhuman
has to
cult.
defeat at the
I
end.
mean, they do the same thing.
Well, she changes her mind to close the gate instead and sacrifices
Sure.
herself. So she makes the sacrifice play. So yes, but I would say she was the villain for the show. And then when she changed, so I mean, she wasn't Thanos level, obviously.
Yeah.
Like and thank
These guys
gosh,
were the villains.
because
Yeah.
and then an Agent Deaver, and not even so much the guy. I can't remember which one he's
Oh no!
Deaver, right?
I'm sorry.
Clearly.
I hate him because
Yeah.
of everything he also did. In
Well, yeah,
No Way
No
Home.
Way
Yeah,
Home.
he's
He manipulated
a-
Ned, and we protect Ned.
Yeah,
We protect
Ned
Ned.
at all costs.
I'm sorry, I don't know. Did you say Wong? This is Phase Wong. We protect
This is
Wong.
Space Wong. We protect Wong and all.
Phase
We
that.
protect
Wong.
Ned.
When
Ned
is-
doesn't have
when
his
is-
best friend.
Yes, when is the show Ned and Wong gonna happen?
Right?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
all I'm asking for. At this point.
I'm in.
Or
I'm just
both of
waiting
them
for
on
him
the
to
Agents
be-
of Atlas.
I'm waiting for him to be in a room like the next time Wong goes and grabs somebody and brings them through the portal, like he did Shang-Chi. I'm just waiting for Ned to be at a computer, going and, like dropping some sort of explanation, out of thin air that he came
Yes.
up with at the computer and out of the book. Like, I would love that.
I love
Honestly,
Wong.
I'm just gonna add them both to the Agents of Atlas, which is the all Asian superhero team of Marvel.
Mm.
They seem like they're ramping up to it because they have both Jimmy Woo and Shang-Chi, which are like the two big players in that group. And I'm really hoping they do it because my second favorite character, Wave, is also in it. And I just want to see her in live action so badly just because I already have my South Asian representation. I need my Filipino representation now. Because I'm mixed. So,
Represent.
yeah.
So, you mentioned the Red Dagger. I kind of got Assassin's Creed vibes
Sorry.
from the Red Dagger. Like
I
with the
did
secret
too.
locations
Yeah,
and
like
hoods
the
and
whole.
stuff. It kind of got like Assassin's Creed vibe.
Yeah, that's basically who Kareem is. I would say like Kamala does not have a love interest in the comics. She does not have like a main one. I know they push the Bruno agenda a lot, but it's never going to happen, and even they know it's never going to happen. But if I was to give her a main love interest, it would be Kareem. He is honestly one of the most supportive. He has a very supportive role in the comics. He's someone who understands Kamala's hero life and, keeping those two separate from each other. He eventually also becomes an exchange student and transfers to Coles High in kind of like an American exchange program. So they seem to be hinting that he is going to be a longer presence in the show.
I like that.
Which I really hope they bring him closer to the main cast. And also partially so we can get that love triangle goodness that we got in the comics.
He was
Or
one of
love-
my favorite characters.
Love triangle, love
And
square
the
at this
way
point.
their hidden base and how they had
Oh
all
yeah, that was
the
awesome.
mystical tech was really.
I also
cool.
have to say I was so hyped about Farhan Akhtar showing up. He is so fantastic. Oh my gosh, I was so hyped.
So that I know you just brought up mystical tech, but there is actually a hero in the Miss Marvel comics who has a very similar power set. His name is Amulet. He also fights Jinn, but basically an amulet gets passed down from generations and generations, and it grants the user power to help them protect their community. So I honestly thought up until that last episode when they dropped the M word, which is what I'm calling it now, I honestly thought that was the route that they were going for, and I was like, okay, if you're not going to do Inhumans, I'll take this, mostly because I also love Amulet.
Right.
I think he was a great addition to the comics. And then they just so happened to add in that scene saying that she was a mutant, and I was like, oh, this is not what I expected. It's
See,
like, oh no.
As soon as he said that there was something wrong, I immediately thought they were going the Inhuman route.
Yes.
And then the X-Men theme played. I was like, I know that the reaction for most people was, "Yay, hey, I was like, oh.
I mean, it kind of looked like Kamran got hit with Terrigen, so I was kind of fully expecting them to keep going with
and
it.
just overall, their powers always looked like Terrigen crystals. You know, the crystal effect. So
Exactly.
this goes on to, this is my personal theory that I've come up with. They added in mutants last minute because if you noticed, one of my friends pointed this out too. But if you notice, Bruno is inserting a note into Kamala's locker at the end, and then it seems like he's just going straight to Caltech without telling them. But then immediately after, in the next scene, he's back and he's like, you know, I can always visit from Caltech, and then he drops the end. You know, he says mutants, and then I'm like, wait, that doesn't add up story wise.
So I had a theory about that, and I've already told Jay and Brian this, but tell me what you think about this. This would be the perfect setup to get our Earth's Charles Xavier, obviously, because if he is in existence on our Earth, like we think he is in the hiding, he is the foremost expert on mutagenics.
Yep.
So Kamala goes to Charles Xavier or to the Xavier Institute, and even when they run their tests, which are way more advanced, they find out, yes, she has mutated elements, but she is not a mutant.
Genes.
And they are the ones that split off and say there's a difference. There's the ones that naturally occur on Earth, and then there's what we call Inhumans, and because isn't there an Inhumans project slotted for?
I'm sorry, the bangle was on a blue arm.
Yeah, they keep on talking about.
What are the Kree just forgotten about?
I've heard so many rumors about there being an Inhumans project, or Black Bolt's going to appear in the Marvels. That part of me wants it to be true. It's not going to be true.
I think maybe
it's like
as long as they don't try to say that the show happened, I'm okay.
It'd be really
I'm okay. It had good qualities, but it was not very well written.
In so many of my videos where people tell me like, oh, but the Inhuman show was bad, and I'm like, no, we scrapped that. Because a lot of what Marvel tried to do with the show, a lot of what they tried to do with the show was try and make the Inhumans the X-Men, and you actually see them. Yeah, you actually see them doing this again with the Eternals. They're following like the same kind of path. Like, oh, here's a show that's of these completely new group of people, and then now they're doing a versus crossover with the X-Men, which at this point the X-Men have fought everyone. Like that's nothing new, but they're also bringing them into the main universe in the comics, which originally they were a part of a completely separate universe that and that's just how Jack Kirby wanted it to be. He wanted to write outside of the current Marvel continuity. And now they're being brought in, and I'm like, oh, you're just doing this again, aren't you? And although I like the Eternals, like the ratings it's lining up to be the same sort of story.
I liked the movie a lot.
I liked the movie a lot, yeah.
I thought,
whereas a lot of people didn't.
We thought that we had more criticisms about it, but then we did 2 long episodes about it, and we realized we loved it.
4 hours of content.
Like, it was the most we did on a Marvel film ever.
Right.
So obviously there's something good there.
So maybe just at the end of the Marvels, there's a passing mention of a colony on the moon?
I hope that
I'd be okay with
Jay,
that.
You said the theory about mutants being a Kree experiment. If they do it that route, I think I'd kind of be all right with it.
What I
would be funny if they went
is that the mutants would be the naturally occurring aspect, but the Inhumans would be what the Kree did. Because we saw the bangle on a blue arm.
Yep.
Yeah,
also, and the sign of the 10 rings on the floor.
I'm telling you, they're Kree tech too.
Yeah.
They are 100% Kree tech.
There's also in the leaked photo for the Marvels, when we see her in the other suit, it looks like there's Kree near her. So I think the Kree are going to play a place in that movie.
Oh, absolutely, they have to.
Yeah.
So
And also, just in general, the Inhumans have always been unlocked through an object, either Terrigen Mist or Terrigen Crystals, or, a bracelet doesn't seem that far off that just so happens to have Terrigen in it. Which is why the mutants angle always continued to confuse me, because it's not like Wanda in the MCU where she has had powers prior to something unlocking them. She has never had powers up until this point, and it is very much inferred that her mother and her grandmother also did not have powers up until they put on the bracelet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
the cameo they missed out on with this show, though, is when her powers were unlocked, she should have had a fantastical dream meeting the Avengers.
Yes. Oh my god.
Awesome.
That's what made me angry about any Carol cameo, because I'm like, it's literally right there. You have the perfect moment to cameo where Kamala sees her 3 favorite Avengers appear to her in a vision, and then you just didn't go that way. And I'm like, I get Robert Downey Jr. is expensive, but you could just have the suit just standing there.
Absolutely,
Like, he didn't even say
could
a
have
word
been
during
CGI. Yeah.
Now, one complaint that I have about this show is actually Ash's fault. It's all your fault.
But before
For a good reason.
Before we get to that real quick, I do want to point out, Jay said something and it just clicked with me. The brief cameo or mention at the end of the Marvels about a base on the moon would not be the first time that someone living on the moon would have been mentioned in the MCU.
Yeah, they talk about Captain America.
Because they talk about
living on the
Captain
moon.
America.
That is actually a nod to
living
the
on the moon.
comics.
Couldn't that be where
So-
Nick
That's a nod to the
Fury
comics.
is? Couldn't he be on the moon?
Possible.
Possibly. No, but the Captain America one is actually a nod to the comics, because Steve actually did stay on the moon
Yeah,
for a
he did.
significant amount of time. And I
He
think
Dr.
Sharon was there
Manhattan.
too.
Yes,
Yeah.
he did.
He Dr. Manhattan.
I mean, he did.
Yeah. But
Yep.
sorry, it just clicked that wouldn't be the first time someone living on the moon would be mentioned. So yeah, but you were
There's
saying
definitely a Kree colony on
Captain
the moon.
America's just chilling with Black Bolt.
but we had Brian has
Yeah.
a complaint and it's all Ash's
Yes.
fault.
It's
As long
all
as it
Ash's
ants
fault
them out,
because
I'm here
Ah.
for it.
you did a video where you were talking about good reading lists to read some comics, and I went on to Marvel Unlimited and read the comics, and I fell in love with Lockjaw.
Lockjaw!
Which is the fact that we didn't get any Lockjaw,
I'm so
even a
mad about
hint,
that.
broke my heart, and it's your fault.
Apparently,
That's the cameo
Iman
we needed.
Vellani herself was fighting for a Lockjaw cameo. I wish that they would have listened to her, because I need my mutant teleporting dog. Like, I think I even made a video where I was like, oh, here's anything else that Bruno could say instead of like a mutation with the X-Men theme playing. And someone in my comment section even said, hey, Kamala, why is there a teleporting dog behind you? And I think that would have been so great.
That would have been great. And
Where'd that
that's how
dog
you
come
did
from?
it. Her petting him and teleporting away. That's how you end it.
See, I
That
think it'd be
could have
funny.
been how she got into the Marvels.
I think
Exactly.
it'd be funny if her
And then
dad
you keep
discovered
the
Lockjaw in her room.
That would have been hilarious.
That is funny, because in the comics, she of course brings Lockjaw to her house, thinking
Yes,
that
she
he's just a stray dog,
It's such like a Clifford the Big Red Dog moment.
Oh yeah.
and her parents are just like, "What are you talking about?"
And
He's got
she's
a
so
tuning
casual
fork on
about
his
it too.
head.
She's just like, it's a dog.
It's a dog. Why is the dog like
Why does he
5 feet
glow?
tall? Why does he have a little fork out of his head?
Right. Speaking of Marvel Unlimited, I know they're not sponsors or anything, but if you, like us, have Game Pass on Xbox, you can go and get you a free trial.
Actually, that's
So,
not available.
is it not
anymore.
any? Is it not good anymore?
That's
Oh.
Xbox Game Pass doesn't do that.
Then
anymore.
I will erase all of that I just said in editing. My bad.
God,
But still,
Robert.
get Marvel
God.
Unlimited anyway
I've missed that
because
the entire time. I could have gotten a free pass. I've been paying for it this
it
entire
was
time.
3
Like
months.
It's a 3-month free pass if you have Game Pass. Yeah. Or it was. It's not now.
It was.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It might come back. We'll see.
But still, get Marvel Unlimited.
Get Marvel
Yes, for
Unlimited
free,
anyway.
like I did HBO Max.
Me too.
So we talked about the cast. We talked about stuff they left out. We haven't talked about really an extent why they changed her powers.
I mean,
So I
This
have
still
a theory
looks
about it. I think that part of it was to it was to make her more like Carol, because her powers in the comics are very devoid of Carol, and that's for a reason. G. Willow Wilson herself was even quoted as saying that she didn't want pretty sparkly powers. She wanted something that would set Kamala apart from other female heroes. And to kind of see them go back on that, I was initially hesitant with the powers. I still kind of am, because even though they tried to have those scenes of her powers acting up when she went to school, in my head the entire time I'm just thinking she could have taken off the bracelet. Yeah, well, for me, I was just thinking she could have taken off the bracelet before she went into school. I wish that they could have just added in one line saying that the bracelet was hard to take off.
But they did explain that the powers were from inside her. So, they did make it to where even taking the bracelet off might not have helped.
Yeah.
But
I wish they would have, showed something like that.
This is not a good excuse. Reed Richards is not a good excuse.
Reed Richards is the worst excuse.
That is not why they did that.
Mostly because, A, he was in Multiverse of Madness literally, right before the show happened.
Worst
and
cameo
B,
ever.
If they have not improved of those powers since 2005, then there is something wrong.
They look so dumb on screen. How are they going to do this?
Look that goofy. They can do it the way the original Fantastic Four movie did, because it should look awkward. So just do it with that technology. They don't even have to spend a lot of money on it.
Have y'all seen Chip and Dale? The new Chip and Dale movie? Have y'all seen that?
I have not seen it yet. My nieces were playing
one of the characters can stretch, and he does it really close combat. That's how I want to see it.
Yes. So my example that I use for people saying oh, it wouldn't work in live action is Rita Farr from Doom Patrol.
She's fantastic.
And the guy from The Flash. One of the episodes of The Flash had an episode with an elongated man. And I'm just saying, those shows have a fraction of the MCU budget. They I'm pretty sure the Flash show is literally made on pennies at this point. But if those shows can do it,
I'm so curious. I want to know actually if you're right. I'm gonna look that up.
The budget's gone down. You can tell.
Oh, absolutely.
They definitely stopped paying good writers. They have some good moments though. I love the moment where Barry Allen is throwing lightning and running on top of it.
See, I have stopped watching The Flash completely.
All right, so for comparison, the Flash television show. Wait, that is not the right one. Here we go.
I know the Marvel shows are $25 million per episode.
Wow.
And the other thing with Marvel is they don't have to pay Iman Vellani as much as they do, Sebastian Stan or Elizabeth Olsen, because she's new.
It's estimated somewhere between 2.5 and 3 million per episode for the CW project.
2.5?
Yeah, 2.5 or 3 million per episode.
That is literally a tenth of the budget of an MCU show.
Okay.
So come on, Marvel, step it up a little bit.
That is the reason why I think it was always because they just wanted to bring her closer to Carol. I just wish that they would have said that out loud so I didn't seem like a crazy person for months. But
maybe it was all just for that little stars in the past reference.
Yeah, that could be it too. Honestly, I've heard some leaks about the Marvel saying and I don't know if you mind me saying them. It's not really spoiler material, but it's just for a fight scene.
Go ahead.
Basically, what they were saying is that at one point, Kamala, Monica, and Carol all combined their powers to do a super blast.
Binary
and I'm
form.
That's
okay. That just gives me proof that you changed Kamala just to fit Carol.
For this purpose.
Come on.
And that also,
and also
that might be how we get our Marvel Skybeam in the Marvels. That they like to give us. The Marvel Skybeam. So
and just overall, because. And the other weird thing with the X-Men is that there's already a character who has Kamala's power set, armor from the X-Men, and I'm fearful that having Kamala be immune is an excuse to not have armor or dust or any of these X-Men that basically serve almost the same purpose as Kamala does.
It would be a good excuse to introduce Carol Danvers to Anna Marie, though.
I agree.
And give her powers of infinite light.
I agree.
So
that's a good point.
I cannot wait for Rogue in the MCU. She is one of my favorite mutants.
She's my state mutant.
Right here from Mississippi. Exactly correct. We actually almost named my daughter Anna Marie. We went with Annabelle instead. So close. So close.
Don't worry. The name Ash, which is partial part of my real name, it's actually from Ash from Evil Dead.
Really?
I love that.
My dad was a huge fan. And when it came time to name me, my mom couldn't come up with like an Indian name or anything, so she just let my dad have full control. So he decided on Ash.
Hey, I love it.
I mean,
Bruce Campbell's one of my favorite people. So
if you haven't seen My Name Is Bruce, go and watch it.
I need to. I love
it's
Bruce
a low
Campbell.
budget. It's a low budget film, but it is hilarious.
Bruce Campbell is one of my like favorite actors now, just because of that. And so when Doctor Strange was coming out, I didn't really care about I didn't really care about that movie outside of what cameo Bruce Campbell was going to make. And at one point, I was convinced he was going to be in. I was like so convinced that he was going to be the superior Iron Man cameo. Like, it wasn't even going to be Tom Cruise. It was going to be Bruce Campbell.
I thought he was going to be a version of Nick Fury
that was my theory, that he was going to be like a zombies version of Nick Fury, the last man alive, but he's a parody of Ash.
Yes, I mean, technically Ash is in the Marvel comics. During Marvel Zombies, they did canonize him as being in there.
Then why not that, man?
Yeah,
no,
why not have Ash? I'm okay with the cameo we got because the one at the end of the movie, the one at the end of the movie just summed up my thoughts about the film. Like,
it's over.
Does anyone else think that that Pizza Papa is going to find out about ice cream pizza and start putting?
That would be great.
I think so.
That would be great.
Pizza Papa always gets paid.
Oh, always.
Oh, that'd be
I loved the scene
love
where
that
she
too.
was revealing to her family that she has powers, and they all know.
Yep,
they all know.
I will say that is like the most accurate scene I've ever seen to like just Asian parents in general, because none of them can keep a secret. My mom will like pretend like, oh, I'm not going to tell you about this thing that happened, and then she's just loudly talking on the phone about it in the other room, and I'm like, oh, so that's where my cousin is? Okay. So it's like completely believable that, Muniba was loudly telling Yusuf and Amir and Taisha just so happened to overhear, because that's just how they are.
Speakerphone. It's so much easier to hear it better. Well, other than, and I can't really complain against the power change, because, and honestly, at this point for me, it's just because I guess I've come to expect it. Like with Carol Danvers, her original origin is not that she gets her powers from the Tesseract. With Wanda Maximoff, her original story is not that she gets her powers from the Mind Stone. So for Kamala to get her powers from a bracelet that's not of this earth, instead of a Terrigen crystal or Terrigen mist, it didn't surprise me, and I thought the powers were well done. I honestly, I've been a fan of Ms. Marvel on some level for a while. I've recently become a bigger fan because of my kids, because they like her, and I think she's worthy of being liked, loved, adored. But her being essentially the main character of the Marvel Avengers video game was really where I learned so much about her story, her power set, obviously, and it was just a great introduction. So for anyone that I guess watched this show and wants more, but doesn't want to wait on the Marvels, go download that video game. It's actually really good to play.
I've heard such good things about just the Kamala Khan end of it. Except, and I need to play it so badly.
It's on Game Pass.
It is? Okay, that's when I sneak onto my dad's account, relog it back into my Xbox, and just steal his Game Pass. I've done it before. Yeah, no, but I've heard really good things about that. I've personally have had good things about her appearance in Marvel Ultimate Alliance. I grew up religiously on those games. That's actually how I got introduced to Carol Danvers as Miss Marvel. Like my dad was like, "Hey, look at this super powerful female hero you can play as." And so then when I heard Miss Marvel was going to be in Ultimate Alliance 3, the Kamala Khan version, I was like, oh, yes. And her powers are super fun to play in that game as well.
I do want to go on record just while we're talking about that I like Carol Danvers as her version of Miss Marvel more than I like her as Captain Marvel. Because she's not, it's kind of like Cap being Nomad. It's that level of, I'm still going to do what's right. I'm going to use my powers for good, but I'm not going to answer to any higher authority.
Yes.
Because they could lead me down the wrong path. And it's that comparison for me. That's definitely my favorite version of Carol Danvers is the Miss Marvel version. But I'm so glad that she also gets to be a mentor for Kamala as well.
Yeah, so that I've always been of the opinion that Carol doesn't really have any main villains except for short haircuts and civil wars. Those have done more damage to her character than anything else. That's why Civil War 2, she was especially not the best person in it because she not only had the short haircut, but it was also a civil war. She was also pretty awful to Emma Frost in the original Civil War. So she's 0 for 0 on those.
I'm just reminded of Rocket's comment. Where are you going to be? Getting another haircut?
Listen, furball.
That's also why I can't defend her in Endgame because I'm like, you got the short hair. It's over already.
I think I've talked at length about my opinion of Brie Larson as a person. So I won't go down that rabbit hole.
Oh, I love her. Don't disappoint me.
Well, that movie I just don't think was the right fit for her. I don't know what it was.
I think
the writing was just a bad fit for the character.
And that's possible. And
I liked
it was the writing for me.
But I mean, it was also the fact
I don't think it's her fault.
It's the Russo brothers' work, but when they're told you have to put this character and this character and this character and this character and this character in there somehow, they even were like, okay.
Oh, you mean her in Endgame?
Yes. Yeah.
I thought you meant the Captain Marvel movie.
Yeah, because the Captain Marvel movie.
Oh.
Not her fault.
Could play a fantastic.
That movie was not her fault.
Carol.
No, I completely agree. That movie wasn't her fault.
Brie Larson can play
it's not
a
my
fantastic
favorite
Carol.
movie.
It's just,
but I liked Captain Marvel.
It's
not the strongest Marvel film.
No, it's definitely not the strongest.
Yeah.
It's stronger than Thor: Dark World.
Oh my God, it's miles
I disagree wholeheartedly. Actually, I disagree wholeheartedly. I think they're on the same level. But Dark World is not worse than Captain Marvel, and Captain Marvel is not worse than Dark World. I think they're level.
Oh no, I think it's miles above Dark World.
Dark World is so devoid
I don't
of
watch
everything.
Dark World anymore.
I do have something to say about that. I think the reason that Captain Marvel gets so much flack is because it's a Phase 1 film that was put out in Phase 3.
You said it.
That is the biggest issue with it. It has the exact same writing flaws and like all the other stuff as the original Iron Man, as the original Captain America, as the original Thor. Except it came out so late that we've had like greater films since then. You know, like Black Panther,
I do
Thor
not know.
Ragnarok.
I do not know what episode I said it in, but I pretty much said that verbatim. That movie suffered mostly because it was not put out in chronological order. That it was not put out in chronological order, and it made it feel like they wanted you or were forcing you to go back and watch this movie after it should have come out way before to fill in plot holes that we already kind of knew. So
this is why I'm glad I watched them in chronological order.
See,
I watch it in release order first and then chronological.
Well,
but
I've been keeping up with it since Iron Man 2, so I was doomed from the start.
And see, I'm older than all of you. I have no choice but to watch it in chronological order because I started watching Iron Man in the theater. So
You know,
I was
my
super
first
excited. I
MCU
drove
film-
myself. Yes.
My first one was Iron Man 2, so my dad made me a diehard Tony fan in everything but the MCU, which I am still suffering from today, because a lot of people tend to hate Tony, but when they say that they hate Tony, they mean the MCU version, who died before he was able to, suffer the consequences of his actions.
Mhm.
And I'm like, no, that's not Tony anywhere else. Everywhere else, he's actively trying to better himself. It's just in this one adaptation, they could not afford Robert Downey Jr. past Endgame.
So Tony is actually my absolute favorite. Iron Man is I've been hooked since I first saw the first Iron Man. Like, you can ask these guys. It's like all I talk about at the
You're
time.
entitled to your wrong opinion. It's okay.
when we were at Mississippi Comic Con, like, this is how much I love Tony Stark. When we were at
War, man.
Mississippi Comic Con, there was somebody who actually he cosplayed Tony Stark, and it was so cool. And I looked at Brian and I was like, take my picture. I
You're
need
both
my
wrong.
picture.
It's Scott Lang.
It's Scotland.
It's Scott Lang. Scott Lang is the best character in the MCU.
Yeah, no, so
That's just because Paul Rudd is the most awesome
Yeah.
all-around actor in the MCU. I feel like.
I just
my
think he's
my
fantastic.
college
Why
essay.
do you do this to me?
So my college essay, which I'm an engineer. I applied to be an engineering major. My college
Awesome.
essay was all about how I wanted to become the next Tony Stark, but in real life. And somehow that got me into college. I don't
Aspiration.
know.
This
Didn't get me into MIT, but it got me everywhere else.
Why do I see this being Ash's origin story as being the real version of Ironheart?
No. Technically, I'm more the real version of Miss Marvel, because I was a bigger Carol fan. But saying that you want to be a blonde lady in a bikini flying into space with magical powers, like that doesn't make a good entrance essay for engineering.
My first Marvel movie was The Incredible Hulk, and it's the worst Hulk movie ever.
Dude, there hasn't
2003.
been a good
Hulk
Hulk movie.
2003.
There isn't a good one.
They could make one though, and as a Hulk fan, I'm so sad about it.
I will
Screw Universal.
I will give it this credit though. It was better than the one that came before it with the Hulk dogs.
I disagree.
That is true.
As a kid, I actually loved the Hulk dog more.
Oh yeah, as a kid, I loved that movie,
And as a
now
kid,
I
I
watch it.
wouldn't
I still like it.
And
if I'm being
the
honest.
pigment of that Hulk makes me nauseous.
I love how
Like-
bold it was to feel like a comic book come
Yes.
to life.
Which is
I
honestly,
respected
it's honestly my favorite part of Multiverse of Madness was specifically how Sam Raimi did those like early 2000s superhero cuts, like
Yes.
where they're trying to make it feel like a comic book film.
I just wish they did
because-
the same thing in No Way Home.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
See,
they
my
did
big
it.
problem with that movie is that all of the references to the original movies have now become memes. And so it all
It's
felt
pizza
like
dough.
jokes instead of fan service.
Right.
It just
Mhm.
felt stupid.
Yeah, instead of like feeling like a Toby film or feeling like an Andrew film.
It was just jokes.
And like that, yeah, no. Also with 2003 Hulk, I will unironically defend it sometimes, just because I find the cuts so hilarious that it makes me feel happy inside. I think my dad one time showed it to me at like 11 p.m. at night and made me eggs and just said, "Here, watch the worst Marvel film ever." And coming out of it, I was like, "This isn't that bad." Like not having to watch it in theaters and being able to make jokes throughout all of it.
It's better than
It had been better if they would have figured out that Mark Ruffalo was the right choice for Bruce Banner. He is the perfect Bruce Banner. I love him so much.
God,
Yo,
but
I
I
didn't
think
like-
Ed
I
Norton
didn't like-
was.
I have
decent.
Ed Norton.
I have a three-way tie for the worst Marvel movie ever. Not MCU. I have a three-way tie for the worst Marvel movie ever. It's Blade Trinity, Ghost Rider 2,
I knew you were going to say Spirit.
And-
Ghost Rider 2 is
and
terrible.
X-Men: The Last Stand.
That's exactly my list.
I liked X-Men Last Stand as a kid.
That was to me, like growing up on the Phoenix saga in the cartoons and in the comics, it seemed like on some level an insult. Just
Yeah.
if it wasn't based on anything, it would have been
Dark
a great
Phoenix
movie.
is an insult too.
I
Yeah,
don't even remember watching that.
Yeah.
like
I don't think I did either.
I mean, that's just
watching
my three-way tie. Like I said, if it's on TV, I'll watch it. I mean, it's not like I directly avoid any of these movies. They're all superhero movies. I'll watch them.
Oh, absolutely.
But I've strongly disagreed with the whole notion that Phase 4 is kind of going downhill.
No,
I
me too.
disagree.
Yes.
I think people are just too high on Endgame, and so they're not liking the build-up.
They're
Like-
also not. They're also looking for the breadcrumbs because they've been taught to look for the breadcrumbs, and they're looking for the connections in all the movies and in all the shows.
And like that's
to the
not the
next
fun
thing.
part of it. Like
That's-
that's not the
No.
fun part.
It's not going
I-
to happen all the time.
I'm already knowing it's gonna happen. There's gonna be people who are gonna say that She-Hulk breaking the fourth wall is just copying Deadpool, but
Oh,
She did it first.
She-Hulk did it
Did it
first.
first.
Exactly.
I'm a diehard She-Hulk fan as well. I'm a fan of all the female heroes.
Yo,
That's
you
just
got
how
a
I grew
picture of
up.
me in cosplay, Robert?
I do. I'll put it right here.
I
Yeah, no,
cosplay
but-
Jennifer
Jennifer.
Walters.
I'm like such a diehard She-Hulk fan that the second I hear I'm not gonna call out any comic talk creators specifically, but you know who I'm talking about when I say that. If I hear them say that Deadpool did it first, I am going on such an attack that several people are going to have to unmutual me because of it.
You know,
I
I'm
love
brave
her.
enough to actually go on record saying a specific creator. Soups,
I'm not
keep
gonna
your
say
damn mouth
yes,
shut.
Yes. Yeah, no, I know you mentioned Soups. I'm gonna mention him by name, but Soups is not the only one I am going to have to attack. It's gonna be an all-out brawl between
He
me and,
made a
several
comment
people.
about Shuri, and he was talking about how he hopes that she goes through a training montage.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that you can believe that a heart-shaped herb gives somebody powers, but you can't believe a girl can fight?
You can't believe that Shuri was not also trained from birth to take
All
over
right.
the
Look at
She went
mantle.
up against
Women.
Killmonger and Thanos.
This isn't.
Yeah.
This isn't a.
Bro!
This isn't a Xiaoling or Xiaoling situation where like the father actively discouraged his daughter from fighting. The Dora Milaje are right there. Who
Yeah,
do you
right.
think
Shuri
trained
was
Shuri
trained.
for her entire life? Like she also held her own against Cornelius Grave. I think that's what his name was.
Corvus Glaive, yeah.
Corvus Grave. She held her own against a fight with him while also performing intense surgery on Vision.
On Vision,
Like,
exactly.
She's going to be too powerful as a Black Panther almost. Like,
Although I do hope
and-
it's Nakia.
And she's a
hope it's
genius.
so
I
my
really hope it's
she's-
Nakia.
one of my
Shuri's-
mutual
Shuri's
um,
overqualified.
Yeah. I noticed that you said Nakia. Because one of my mutuals, the Mighty Z, I'm gonna plug her because everyone should go follow her. But she made a video saying that it could be, Nakia. Sorry, you pronounce the two Nakia and Nakia differently. She said that it could be her, but it could also be Queen Ramonda.
I've heard the
and
same thing.
Personally, for me, I want it to be all three of them, and
I think they'll
it
all wear it.
slowly goes down to Shuri's the right choice to carry on this legacy. Kind of I always forget how Ramonda. Like she is the first one. She does it out of a vengeance to her family. She figures out
I
that's
do
not
think
the
we'll
Black
see a
Panther way.
Koye in it too.
Yes, the women in T'Challa's life are so important to him that I feel like in order to do a proper send off, you kind of need them all
Yes.
to either say why they can't take over the mantle or take over the mantle for a little bit.
And then they're gonna cheapen it because they're definitely giving it to Winston Duke. Trust me, I'm calling it.
I hope not. But the worst theory I've seen is people think Killmonger's coming back. That
No.
would cheapen his death.
It's gonna cheapen everything.
It's all because of
Do
the
not
little
bring
bit of
Eric
gold.
back.
Okay, so here's what I say to that theory. He didn't make the suit. Shuri did. So it would
Yep.
make sense that the gold is her anyway because she makes the suits.
She literally offered that suit to T'Challa. Was like, hey,
Yeah.
this one's my personal favorite.
Exactly.
Because she's a lot
Killmonger
more
just
about
took it.
like the outward,
I hope they
glamour
give her a
of
cape,
Black
too.
Panther. Oh god, I
Yes.
miss the capes.
I,
Even if
I-
it's like you whip it off or
Yes.
whip it off before fighting, but like just the cape.
I do think when if she goes to the ancestral realm that she's gonna expect her brother, but I think it'll be Michael B. Jordan.
It's either gonna be him or it's gonna be their dad again.
Yeah, but I don't think. No, John Connie passed away.
Yeah, it would have to be Michael B.
Didn't he? I think he did. I think it would have to be Michael B. Jordan. I may be wrong. I could be wrong.
I think that would make the most sense for why Michael B. would be brought back.
Mm-hmm.
That
would be the only way that it really could.
But they better not bring him back from the. But see, somebody raised the point. What if he didn't? What he asked to be buried at sea? What if he didn't die? What if he wound up in Atlantis? And I'm just like, no, stop it.
I'm sorry. Look, Marvel does some way out of the box stuff, but that's reaching.
It's out of character for Atlantis.
Yeah.
It's 100% out of character for Atlantis.
Namor is like beefing constantly with humanity.
That's
so
what
like,
I'm
why
saying.
would
He's a
he ever
total
allow
prick.
that?
Yeah.
Like Namor in the comics even like constantly just like makes fun of like the fact that Cap has Bucky around. Like he's a menace to society.
But he loves Sue Storm. Oh God.
Do y'all think that
I love that little that panel of him kissing Sue in front.
He's always like, come home with me.
I was looking up Fantastic Four panels for a video I was doing, or Fantastic Four
favorite.
comics. And one of the very old comics just has him carrying off Sue Storm, and I'm just like, I almost need to pre-save that for my any Namor videos I want to make.
Do y'all think this is also when we're going to get an explanation? Like, this is going to be the follow-up to Okoye's line in Endgame where she says there was a seismic earthquake off the coast of
probably
whatever, and
more than
like was like,
likely.
what are we doing? She's like, it's
I
an
mean,
earthquake. We don't do anything.
Probably.
It's gonna be Namor messing with some stuff. I cannot wait for. I can't wait to just see Namor in general because he's just one of those characters that like I need to learn more about, but overall I just love from growing up as a kid and like seeing him in other media. Specifically, I'm gonna plug Ultimate Alliance again. Ultimate Alliance is the greatest thing to ever happen.
Right.
I wish they would make more video games like that. Yeah, I'm super excited for that. I'm also just super excited in general to get Ironheart into the MCU, kind of tying it back towards Ms. Marvel. There's a lot more evidence that the Champions are going to happen in the MCU versus the Young Avengers, mostly because Ironheart is around the same age as Kamala. They are making a Nova project, which they can do Sam Alexander without having to like establish Rich Rider meeting Sam's mom. Like he could,
but they could.
Yeah, there's very good chance Nova's gonna show up soon.
I mean, they technically did that with Star-Lord in Guardians 1. Like,
yes,
they didn't. It was just a off the wall explanation. Your daddy was an angel, and for the comic book fans, we were like, it was Jason of Spartax. It was Jason of Spartax. We know who that is. And then when it was Ego, we're like, wait, what?
Wait, huh?
Yeah.
But
the video game set that right though, and I love that.
They did. The Telltale game is great.
Yeah, no. So
don't
my
get me
only
wrong.
hope.
Guardians 1 and 2 were great movies, but as far as comic book accuracy, I needed the Jason of Spartax storyline, and I got that in the video game, and it was awesome.
Yeah, my only hope for a Nova project is that it ends with Sam Alexander and his sister looking up at the stars, expecting their dad to come back. Meanwhile, he probably got killed during the film. And, Sam gets to be the last Nova like he normally is, be friends with the Watcher. He's probably going to drag him into there somehow.
Watu?
Yeah. They're close friends in the comics. Like, he brings him stuff, even though, Uatu is only supposed to be watching.
I wonder if we're going to see him show up in the actual, films instead of just What If.
Yeah,
they made him in What If look very close to the actor, which
he does
really
look like
makes
Jeffrey
me
Wright.
think
Yeah,
that they're gonna bring him in there.
Fingers crossed we get Doom soon too. I'm really thinking it's Wakanda Forever. I'm starting to think that's where we see him first.
Mm-hmm.
People are speculating Esposito.
I would love that.
I saw yesterday somebody that's gotten pretty prominent said that if it's anything, it's Xavier.
I cast him for Xavier. I do.
And I really like that.
Yeah.
Have you seen he's going to be in Lafayette for Louisiana Comic Con?
Right?
Yeah.
One day.
Dang, now I gotta go drive there.
Jealous.
I love him. He's my
I would
favorite.
love to
Oh my
meet him.
god.
He is the greatest villain ever. And that's why I want him as Xavier. I want to see him as a
I
hero.
want to see him be good. Yes.
Well, I mean, Xavier's not all the time good. But I
That's-
feel like
that's-
he
you
can
have a
play.
point.
He can play
Sometimes
into that
he's-
a lot.
Sometimes he does House of M things, and I don't like him.
He can do House of
And he hides truths from people all
That
the
is-
time.
That is the
Yeah.
theory.
Which is also why I think that he should definitely be Xavier, because I feel like he has like that menacing aura to him that
Yep.
like even though he's not going to be doing anything evil, you kind of get like this unsettling feeling from him,
Nobody
which I
knows
think is
about the
perfect for
Illuminati.
Xavier.
I mean, he hides that from people actively.
I
All
don't
right,
know,
guys.
but
We're at an hour and 17, running a little long,
We
and I
have
want to
just
make
run
sure.
our mouths.
No, hey, look, what if you can't get on board with Phase 4 conversation, because I mean, Miss Marvel is, I mean, the Marvels is part of Phase 4. But I do want to, before we get out of here, I want to get everyone's favorite
Marvel's
character.
is Phase 5 now.
Or is it? Did it get moved to Phase 5?
Yeah, because
Okay.
After
Wakanda
Wakanda
Forever is
Forever.
the end of Phase
Yeah.
4.
We have
Either way.
She-Hulk and Wakanda Forever. That's the last things of Phase 4.
Okay. Well, but Miss Marvel is in Phase 4, and then Phase 5 coming out. So, but before we go, I want to get everyone's favorite character, and if you can, favorite moment from the show. Don't everyone answer at once.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna go
I
with
mean,
my
like,
favorite character. Yusuf is amazing, and my favorite moment, not because of how sad it made him, but just because of the thought they put into it. Him dressing up as the Hulk to want to go with her
Mhm.
to the con. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So I think everyone expects me to go with Kamala. I'm not though. My favorite is probably Muniba. And just overall, I really liked how much effort they put into something that was always hinted at in the comics. That she has like a deep connection with the women in her family, but they actually like showed that in depth on screen. And I especially liked the conversation that Muniba had with Sana, who is Miss Marvel's grandmother. And it mostly because it felt like something like a conversation my mom and my grandmother have like constantly, like, oh, why have you not been visiting us? Why are you so, embarrassed and all that? And it just really hit close to home, more close to home than I was expecting from this show, which is shocking because I already knew it was going to be like hitting close, but like that close, that was like amazing for me.
I did really enjoy her character, and especially the grandmother. I thought the grandmother was amazing. Like, what are you doing up this late? I just came from a party. What are you talking about? Like, I thought that was amazing.
That's great.
Nerd Squatch, favorite character, well, Ash, you didn't give us your favorite moment. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, I did. I said the scene between Muniba and
Sana.
Oh, okay. So the
Sana.
conversation. Okay.
Sana,
Yeah.
sorry.
You blended them together on me, and I
Yeah,
wasn't paying
I-
attention. I got you.
Very
Come on,
smooth
Bear, stay with
transition.
it.
I got to focus up.
I will say that in the comics, I'm a really big fan of Sheikh Abdullah. I think he's fantastic. But in the show, I also have to say Muniba. I think she's great. And my favorite moment, because I'm one of those people that, and this is absolutely not trying to toot my own horn, but I did have pre-existing knowledge of partition. So I was very, very pleased with general audiences being exposed in even that form
oh my god.
to the history that would lead to more research, hopefully.
Yeah, no, I actually have a funny story with that because despite being Indian and despite having most of my family in India are Muslim, including my mom and including my grandmother, I did not hear about partition until I read the Miss Marvel comics. So I'm hoping other South Asian girls like me who were just never taught that part of our history get to learn and
I
get
agree.
to, know to do more research because of the show.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it wouldn't be the only big event that happened like that doesn't get taught in certain places.
Oh,
So-
absolutely. Absolutely. It's only a matter of time before Magneto's origin is somebody's first exposure to the Holocaust,
Right.
which
Yeah.
is so sad.
Gosh, that's
Yeah.
sad.
So sad.
I actually
And the-
wrote an essay on Magneto and the Holocaust one time.
The fact that we have Holocaust deniers is.
Oh, don't even get me started.
Oh my goodness.
Mm-mm.
I could rant for another hour about that, but
We're not a political
We're-
podcast. We don't do that.
No.
Hey,
Katie,
maybe we'll talk about that on the Bar Tavern Talk with our friends Tyler and JB.
Yes.
We'll go over there and talk politics. That'd be
I don't know
great.
if you want me to talk politics. I
Who we got?
tend to get on a soapbox.
Has Beard gone?
Beard went. Katie,
Katie,
who was your
yes, I was
favorite
gonna say.
character and what was your favorite moment?
I think my favorite character is Nakia. Honestly, just kind of like the way that she just kind of like stepped up there. My favorite
Girls get it
moment
done.
was definitely when Kamala was like, "You should run for the board,"
Absolutely.
and she was like, "No." And then she was like, "I'm gonna run for the board," and I just thought that was really really cool for her because she kind of really, you could tell that she kind of stepped out of her comfort zone a little bit there, and like I knew like as soon as she said that, I was like, that would be a good position for her.
Oh, and the line she gives to Yusuf, the
Yes.
you know, this is really mine and Kamala's dream. You wouldn't dash our dreams, would you?
Yeah.
Like, I love it.
Perfect.
and then
Paralyzed.
and then she hands him the pin, and I'm like, that was the moment that she truly turned in. I finally realized, like, this is comics Nakia. Like, they hit it hard.
Do you see more of Nakia in the comics? I haven't read them yet.
Yeah,
Oh.
do you see her a lot in the later comics? So post 2014, more when Bruno leaves the picture, which is why I hope he leaves soon.
Fair.
I just need to recast him. I don't like how preppy he is.
Right. Or just
Bring
or
back
give him,
Shaggy from Scooby Doo.
give him one semester in Cali and let him experience some stuff and and grow his hair out and deprep just be kind
He
of
already
more
has
laid
the
back.
hoodie. He
You
has
know?
the hoodie,
So-
the stoner hoodie that he has.
I love how they actually had him working at Circle Q. I actually thought they were going to miss out on that, and
Circle
then
Q. That's such a good play on the fact that you couldn't I mean, I get that in the comics you can't just use labeling, but we know it's based off Circle K.
Oh,
and
yeah.
every time I think of Circle K, I think of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Venture.
So,
excellent.
right,
Which is why we need Shaggy from Scooby Doo Bruno.
right.
Yes.
My favorite character was Yusuf. Actually,
Yeah.
just being a father, to girls that are running around that are also huge nerds. I completely relate. I thought he added a lot to the show. He wasn't just a side character. He was a main character. Most of the cast, and that was another good thing I loved about the show.
Intimate.
Kamala was the main character. She is the namesake for the show, but she was not the main cast member. The stories were around, and the conversation, and my favorite moment, the whole show was great. It's hard to pick one, but the one that sticks in my mind, especially for Yusuf, was the conversation between him and Amir. When Amir's like, I have $73 in my bank account. Or whatever the number was, but it was some low number. And as soon as he
$700.
that, 73 would have been even lower. And it just hit home to me because, I'm watching it with Mama Bear, and it just took me back to before we got married, almost 11 years ago. We were getting told, well, you need this and this and this to get married. And finally, my stepdad was just like, if you wait to have enough money to put on the most biggest wedding ever, you're never going to get married. It's the
Yep.
same thing with having kids. If you wait to be financially stable, you'll never do it. So don't. If you love who you love, then get married, do it. And that's almost the same exact conversation that Yusuf had with Amir. And that's why it was my favorite moment. It was, of course, he was taking it from the religious standpoint and the fatherly figure of two children, but still, amazing moment. I thought it really brought some humanity to the show, even more so than there already was. If I had to give a runner up, though, it was when she failed to save the boy.
Yeah,
that was probably my second favorite moment, and it would have been first, except only because I like to see a hero fail. Like, I want you to have a struggle to get a handle on your powers. I don't. That's why I have such a problem with Superman. He's so perfect. He's already figured everything out. I can't stand it.
And when Zack
another
Snyder
great-
tried to make him flawed, we all saw how that went.
Smallville Superman, I love, but
I do
every
too.
other rendition of Superman, I do not like. I just don't.
Another great moment that we should talk about before we get wrapped up is everyone coming to defend Miss Marvel
Yes.
after
Yes.
she
Yes,
Oh
saved
my God,
them.
I loved it.
absolutely.
And
So-
even the police officers turning around,
Yeah.
saying, "Nope, we're done here."
I
Yeah,
did not like how quickly they stepped out of the way, though.
And that's
That
how
was-
you know it's fiction.
Yeah. I do want to point one quick thing out while
Sorry,
we're at
I
that
had to
moment.
be real.
I pointed it out to Mama Bear, and I'm sure y'all noticed this too. The main difference between Kamran's powers and Kamala's, she used hers as a shield. He used his as an attack method. So
Mhm.
his always went out like in a projectile way.
He was defensive,
and-
she was off, or she was defensive, he was
right,
offensive.
and she was always the shield. It was always some sort of circular pattern. It was never used to harm. To
It was
stop.
never used to directly
you know.
harm.
Well, she
Right.
she
She
has
knocks
that
people
even
out,
in the,
sure, but
even in the comics. If someone dies, she takes that to heart.
Yeah,
That's not something
yes.
she just blows
Yeah.
away like, "Oh, death, whatever." It matters.
Yeah. I
Yes.
was really worried that they were going to use a more projectile method with her powers, because Kamala in the comics, like, while Carol and Monica are very like offensive heroes, like they're always on the attack, Kamala, her powers are often used to defend. She uses her body as a shield. She uses it as a parachute to, gently rest people down. If she has to punch someone, it's because they are going to actively harm others.
Right.
It's never her first choice.
She's not looking for a fight, but she'll end one if she has to. That's and I
And
wanna
if she
do
gets
her
in the
like
fight, you're fucked because
Yeah.
that. Right? Language.
Language twice
Yes,
this time.
Twice this episode,
Yes,
sir.
I'm sorry.
Gonna have to hit you with that.
Language.
Just bleep them out.
Used to be me, not anymore.
I really can't say anything else about this show. I mean, I know we've spoken now for a good part of 2
Hour and a
hours.
half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've talked the show almost to death, because now I get to do all my predictions for season 2. But
I hope we get a season 2.
I do
Yeah.
too.
So fun.
Let's do ratings. We do
Oh,
ratings
yeah.
on the show out of 10. I'll start off. 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 bear paws for me. Just it there's really not, like, even that one is just, I'm not familiar so much with her comic book characters, so I can't say, like, from a standpoint of the comic nerd. I mean, heck, if I was that level, I might even find no faults. But it was more of the one point, I guess, is just that it was over too soon, I guess.
yeah.
And that we didn't get the things that are in the comic books, that, like, Lockjaw or
Yep.
the stoner Bruno, or the stoner-esque Bruno. So I do know about those things. So yeah, 9 out of 10 for me.
I as well am giving it 9 out of 10, and literally to copy exactly what you just said, Lockjaw not being there is half a point, and Bruno's half a point.
Yep.
So
We don't talk about Bruno.
Certified the starter of anti-Bruno TikTok. I do like Matt Lintz. I think he did a good job, but honestly, I was never going to like Bruno in the first place. He was fighting an uphill battle.
Right. Nerd Squatch. How many Squatch prints?
I'm gonna say that for Amon Villani alone, I have to give it a 10 because that's what I came for,
High praise.
and that's what I got, and she nailed it, and everybody else just continued to back it up even further. I mean, look at that. That's all you need.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was fantastic.
And to get
And
that
she
at the
was
very
fantastic.
end was really good too. I loved that. I guess let's go with Katie. We don't have very many photos, so I guess you'll have to go with microphones.
I would definitely say 9 out of 10. I mean, I feel like even though I haven't read the comments yet, I probably will, but I feel like there was room for more potential, and I was sad that it ended as quick as it did,
Okay.
Yeah. So
and I really would have loved to see more Nakia.
So,
Okay.
all right. I guess that leaves me.
Yeah.
So
We're
I'm
just
gonna
gonna get how many Miss Marvels? do you
How many
get?
Miss Marvels?
I guess you're Miss Marvel girl. So,
Yeah, I'm
Let me
gonna preface everything I'm saying by most of the other MCU shows for me have been 6s and 5s, or I didn't watch in the case of Moon Knight. I watched the first episode. I just stopped watching after that. I was done. Yeah.
I am heartbroken at that
Talk.
statement.
I'm gonna cry.
The only other show that I think has really like lived up to my expectations has been Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
You saved it.
That one was a solid 8 out of 10.
You saved yourself.
Yep.
Which is why everything after that was kind of like just okay
I
for
love
me.
that show.
So for Miss Marvel, I would give Falcon and the Winter Soldier an 8 out of 10. For Miss Marvel, I would also give it a 9 out of 10. My biggest complaint is that it tried to do a lot of stuff from the comics in such a short period of time. Like we're talking about so her origin story, Amir and Taisha's wedding, and the Karachi arc, which were all separate things in the comics, now being done in 6 episodes versus like I think 38 issues of the comics. So I think it tried to do too much, but that was also one of its strengths because it didn't have like a low point like a lot of the other MCU shows did. But it was also the biggest problem with it. I could have gone for what I like to call a Peacemaker 8, where it's 8 1 hour long episodes. I could have gone for that. I could have gone for an entire serialized 30 minutes, 22 episode series.
Especially when Daredevil gets 18.
Exactly.
Yeah, when Daredevil gets 18, I'm going
Banking
to
on all
like
this men loving
Please give Miss
Daredevil.
Marvel 6 more episodes.
Yeah,
Come on.
like just give her just a little bit more, or even just
Give me more She-Hulk, too.
Yeah,
Damn it.
I mean, y'all confirmed a Loki season 2. Why can't you confirm a Miss Marvel season 2? I
I want to see her get into more street level
You could've
fights with
teased
like
it in
someone
the
robbing a
end
bank or something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Again,
And
she
especially-
needs to figure out her powers. She still doesn't. I mean, she's
Yeah,
got a decent understanding, but not a full grasp, and that's what I want to see.
Yeah,
Yep.
I like also that you mentioned Daredevil, because the second I heard that was going to be 18 episodes, I got pissed. Because my other criticism of Falcon and the Winter Soldier was,
Too
I
short.
hate that we only had Sam Cap for one episode, 1 hour long
We have to
episode,
wait like
and
2
then
years
never
for the
again.
movie.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
New
we-
World Order. Can't wait.
I cannot wait.
Moon Knight's gonna be in that one, I hope.
Me too.
I really
What else
hope
can he-
Moon Knight's in
The
it.
only other thing he can be in is Blade. I'm gunning that he's
Or
going to be
Werewolf
in
by
Blade.
Night.
Or Werewolf
Yeah.
by Night.
All
We
right.
need Dracula in the MCU. That way we can have Moon Knight
Yeah.
saying the line.
Oh
What's
my
the fake
god.
comic panels?
Dracula, you big nerd.
Yo, I could only
I-
like if it really is Anthony Starr, could you just not see them going at it about money? Oh my god.
That would be
Yes.
awesome.
God. That's gonna be great.
Well, guys, no talking nerdy segment this week, just because I think we talked it to death. We'll probably have something on the page though, so go and check that out.
Yep.
For
I'll
the
get it up.
release of this. If you are in the Gulf Coast area, the weekend that this comes out, Jay is actually going to be in a production of Rent at the Wing Center. So go and check that out. That's why he was so tired at the top of the episode. Already did one weekend and now going to do another. If it's anything as well as they put on SpongeBob, I'm sure it's amazing.
Better.
If you're going to be in the Baton Rouge area the weekend this comes out, come and see myself and Tyler the Great at Mid-City Microcon in Baton Rouge. We're going to be down there for that event, raising money for charity, hosting a panel, all the good stuffs. And also, hopefully we got it up. And if we didn't, it's coming soon. Be sure to check out Katie over on her Geeked Moms podcast with Mama Bear. That's going to be a fun time, I'm sure. Be sure to also catch the next episode of Bard's Tavern Talk from Tyler and JB as well. And Ash, where can our listeners and viewers find you?
So I'm actually going to be on another podcast called Miss Marvel. It's going to be on Spotify. I'm recording it next week. I have no clue when it's going to be out past then. And then also you can find me at Hey Dave on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter if you want to see me truly be unhinged. And on YouTube, I believe it's Ash Danger. I believe that's my YouTube handle. I'm needing to put out a full retrospective review, probably like a 6-hour long video just on Miss Marvel. But with school and everything, it's kind of been a little bit hard to film a full thing. So that is definitely something that y'all can look forward to in the future.
And links for the social media stuff, we'll put them in our episode description. Go and follow down there, and I'm sure you'll keep everyone posted on the Miss Marvel podcast as well on your socials. So and let us know, because I'd like to check that out. If this wasn't you unhinged, I really want to see.
Yeah, no, my Twitter is like 10 times worse than what I could ever like. I'm very much more restrained when people can see my face. However, on Twitter, it's just it's a lot of hot takes. It's just every single hot take I can possibly think of.
We're gonna have to add an element to the show called Ash's Hot Take.
Yes.
Just start getting those filmed in advance and put them in the show.
It's the new Sergio Hates Everything.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Thank you all so much for being here. Glad y'all liked the show. I'm really glad that we got to talk about it finally. Ash, we'll see you around the socials. Jay, hopefully we'll see you very soon in person. If not, back for another episode. And Katie, I guess I'll see you over on your episode, because I think I'm supposed to be on the first one of that or something. I don't know. But we'll see. And Brian, as always, love you.
See you on Fortnite.
See you on Fortnite. That's pretty much it. In the meantime, we're gonna get out of here. I've been the Bear.
I've been the Beard.
We want to remind you, as always, to stay awesome,
stay bearded,
and much love, guys. We'll see you next episode. We are out of here.
Boom, cut the check.
That was totally wicked!
Thanks for checking out another episode. We hope you enjoyed it. New episodes are released every other Friday at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. Check back then or subscribe so that your device downloads it automatically. Audio episodes are available pretty much anywhere you get your podcasts, so it's really easy to share them with all your nerdy friends. For YouTube viewers, subscribe and click the little bell so you're notified about all our new content. Links to talk nerdy to us can be found in the episode description as always. You can chat with the Bear, the Beard, or the rest of the Bearded Bear team, head researcher and graphic designer, Mama Bear, the social media sorcerer, Nerd Squatch, the master of marketing, Han Bralo, the master merch fabricator, Tyler the Great, or any of our public liaisons, Mama Kim, Katie Cat, or JB. Huge thanks to them, the geeks of the round table, and all our awesome friends of the cast. Much love, y'all. Lastly, for more cool music like this awesome outro track, go check out Harlequin Soul, Secret Apex on Facebook and Spotify. His links are in the description as well. Talk at you next episode, nerds. See you then. Welcome to the end. Are you a fan or just pretend?